Alright, we talk about some pretty heavy and deep and dark stuff in this course, but today we get to talk about something that's almost entirely positive, and that is the concept of prosocial behavior. But first, I want to make a distinction between prosocial behavior and a term you may have heard called altruism, and then I'm going to tell you why I don't really care. But altruism is defined as helping someone else in an entirely selfless way, so you don't benefit from helping somebody else at all. Whereas prosocial behavior is simply helping other people without any differentiation on if you benefit from it or not. Some people, like maybe this guy, actually Phoebe on Friends, would make the distinction that altruism is a really tough thing to define, because even if you're doing something that causes yourself pain or loss, you can still feel good about helping somebody else. So some folks will say altruism is kind of a philosophical thing. From my end, I don't necessarily care if we benefit from helping people or not. The benefit is that other people are helped. So for our terms and for our purposes, we'll use the term prosocial behavior. You can view it as altruism if you want to, but I'm just going to recognize that it doesn't matter if you feel good about it or if you're doing it for specific reasons. Prosocial behavior is helping other people, and by definition, that's a good thing. What I want to first do is talk about some cognitive motivations that help us engage in prosocial behavior. In other words, why do we help people? The first is that of morality. So some of us are just raised, either personally by our family units or just as society, with the idea that helping people is a good thing to do. When you help people, it makes you a good person. Obviously, that's very oversimplistic, but some folks will view helping other people as just a sign, a way to maintain their morality. The second is to have an understanding of human beings. Sometimes we are looking for an understanding of the world. We want to understand people better and understand life better. So getting involved in prosocial behavior and helping other people can help us learn more about the world. The third is growth, and we mean personal growth here. So the idea is by helping you, I'm also learning something, maybe about whatever I'm helping you with, maybe about myself. Maybe it helps me be a better person. Maybe it helps me change the way I do something else in my life. So the idea is I'm helping others with the idea that I'm going to become a better person. Not morality, you are a good person because you're helping, but growth. This will help me be even better than I currently am. And then the final cognition is that of community. And this can actually be viewed from a few different perspectives. One of which is from a social perspective, and that says that we just as human beings want a sense of community. We want to have people around us, we want to feel a part of a unit. From an evolutionary standpoint, community means if I help you with something, later on down the road, you may help me with something. So there's a little bit of reciprocity built into this idea of community as well. But those are the four cognitions that can motivate prosocial behavior. It's not the only ones, just the four that we chose to focus on. And that's morality, understanding, growth, and community. That's thoughts, cognitions. Now let's talk about feelings. But this time, let's talk about the feelings that can result from prosocial behavior. So these are four emotions that you can either have during the prosocial behavior or that can even grow as a result of the prosocial behavior. And the first is compassion. Now some people say they will help others out of a sense of compassion, but it's actually the act of interacting with other people in a positive way that brings you that compassion. It leads to you caring about people, and helping that person makes you want to help more people. Helping this person makes you want to help more people. So it's the idea that we actually care about other human beings, and prosocial behavior is a way to encourage and stimulate that. The second is empathy. Now I like to make a distinction between empathy and sympathy a lot, but here I want to make the difference between empathy and compassion. Compassion means I want to help you. I want to feel good about helping you. I care about you. Empathy means I'm putting myself in your shoes. I want to understand what you're going through. So sometimes when people volunteer for a homeless shelter or they volunteer their time for a specific cause, they're doing it so they can understand what someone feels like or what that experience is like for people who are living it on a day-to-day basis. So empathy can be a very powerful and important emotional reward of prosocial behavior, the ability to understand people better and then to feel what they are feeling. The third is self-esteem. So again, this isn't necessarily altruistic, but we feel good about ourselves when we're helping other people. when you are down, when your life is stressful, when there's a lot of negative things in your life, you can take pride in the fact that you do things that help other people and that you have a positive impact on those around you. Again, self-esteem is not a negative word. It's good to feel good about yourself, and prosocial behavior can be a way that you do that. But it also can cause happiness, which is the fourth emotional component, or the fourth emotional reward. Again, just because you have good self-esteem doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy, but happiness is this overall sense of well-being. And people who engage in a lot of prosocial behavior absolutely report higher levels of happiness than those who don't. So obviously we don't know if that's a cause and effect, but it's certainly an emotion that can be tied to prosocial behavior. All right, all that's positive. Now let's talk about the negatives. So here are 4 characteristics that can inhibit prosocial behavior or keep us from helping people. The first is ignorance. A lot of times we just don't know about a problem, or we just don't know that a problem is as severe as it is. So we obviously can't help, we can't get involved in positive change unless we know what's going on. So that's why in this course I've tried to stress education so much in terms of addiction, domestic violence, a lot of the topics we discuss. Because until you're aware of the issues, you certainly can't do anything to address them. But even if you are aware, that doesn't mean you'll actually do something. The second characteristic that can prohibit prosocial behavior is that of apathy. And apathy means just not caring. So again, sometimes as teachers or in the news or as parents, we don't do a good job of presenting the information to you in a way that makes it matter to you. So for example, a lot of times in history you'll hear huge numbers about people who died. You'll hear a statistic like tens of thousands of people passed away in this incident. It's tough for our brains to compute that because we don't know that many people. It's hard for us to even understand what that number means. So sometimes research shows that people actually care more when it's a smaller number because you can think about that person. That number means something to you. So if you see something that says 35 people were killed in a school shooting, sometimes that's more emotionally impactful than 20,000 people died last year from a specific illness. So again, the information is great, we need to be educated, but we also need to make sure that we care about it. Now obviously we should hopefully care about all of the lives and all the problems that we've talked about in this course. But apathy, not caring, is certainly a reason why people do not. The third is diffusion of responsibility. So let's say we're educated, we feel like we should make a difference, but we just think that somebody else will do it. And this is often the case with problems that get a lot of attention. So it's sometimes the case that the more attention a cause gets, the less people feel inclined to help because they just assume that other people are going to do it. It's a phenomenon we see on an individual basis. If you fall in a street, the more people who are around, the less likely someone is to actually help you. But if it's just one other person, they're more likely to pick you up. And that's a metaphor we can use in a broader sense and think about as well. So we can beat diffusion of responsibility by just recognizing that we could be the one person that steps in, and if we don't, perhaps nobody else will. The final thing that can inhibit prosocial behavior is that of fear. So you're aware of the problem, you care about the problem, you know it may be up to you, but depending on what the problem is, you may be afraid. If you're getting involved in helping someone who's in a violent situation, you may fear for your safety. If you're getting involved in a specific cause, you may fear the pushback on that if there's a stigma attached to it. So sometimes we have fears about how our actions will be perceived. So that's something that can inhibit prosocial behavior as well. But hopefully, some of the things that we've talked about in this course, and certainly some of the music that we're going to listen to, will help inspire us to overcome those obstacles to prosocial behavior and will help us reap the emotional rewards that we have talked about.